say ask a yes or no question of the gentleman. Is American industry leading the world in clean evolution of the fossil fuel industry?
China is doing very well, but I think America is still the leader in the world.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Secretary Hagel, is climate change and its attendant effects from rising sea levels, intensifying temperatures, and so on, currently contributing to the following global crises? The destruction or damage done to U.S. military bases domestically and across the world?
Yes.
Is it contributing to the erosion of of a healthy environment for our military veterans and current service members?
Yes.
Is climate change contributing to increased disease factors, including the exacerbation of global outbreaks?
Yes, and I mentioned that in my comments.
Is it contributing to increased migration patterns, as referenced by Secretary Kerry in his opening statements? Is it contributing to increased migration patterns in Europe and the United States?
Yeah, clearly in the Pacific, too.
And is it also contributing to increased social instability throughout the world?
Yes.
Thank you for establishing that. I know you both have already spoken to it, but with the debate over what is already factually established, sometimes we have to reassert these things.
This issue, by the way, Congresswoman, this issue of climate change is what, as you know, have been referred to often as a threat multiplier. Mm-hmm. It multiplies and multiplies threats and more threats, and we've got to anticipate that, and we factor that in whatever we're going to do about it.
Thank you, Secretary Hagel. Do you think that neglecting to address these threats could contribute to the loss of American life?
Yes.
And do you think that denial or even delaying in that action could cost us American lives?
Yes.
Secretary Kerry, do you think that appointing a federal panel that questions 26 years of established climate science be responsible for the loss of American life?
It could be.
So I think what we have laid out here is a very clear moral problem. And in terms of leadership, if we fail to act, or even if we delay in acting, we will have blood on our hands. I don't know if you're allowed to agree with that, Secretary Kerry or Secretary Hagel. Would you agree with that assessment?
Well, if I can not. Here's what's happening, and it is happening. We are not responding. No country in the world is doing enough to be able to help the world meet the goal of holding the Earth's temperature rise to 2 degrees centigrade. And it is absolutely, certainly decided as a matter of scientific fact. 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 4 is 8. We can predict when the sun and moon will rise because we have tables to do it with the same certainty. We know that human beings are responsible for the rise of CO2 contributing to climate change. So we have to lower it. And the fact is we are currently on track not to hit 2 degrees, but to hit 4 to 4.5 degrees in this century. So as long as we do nothing, Congresswoman, we are complicit in our acts of omission and commission of what we're doing to choose for our energy, et cetera. We're going to contribute to people dying. We're going to contribute to trillions of dollars of damage of property, and we will change the face of life on this planet.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Kerry. You know, I would be remiss if I didn't talk or address some of the comments made across the aisle. And while I am incredibly flattered that the ranking member and many members across the aisle seem to be so enamored with a non-binding resolution presented by a freshman congresswoman sworn in 3 months ago, I think that ironically, despite that fixation, it doesn't seem that they've actually read the contents of the proposed and presented resolution. And so I would just, I would encourage that we don't need cliff notes for a 14-page resolution that was designed to be read in plain English by the American people. So I would encourage my colleagues to actually read the resolution presented so that they can speak to it responsibly and respectfully. I would also like to highlight that it is not responsible to complain about anything that we dislike as quote-unquote socialism, particularly when many of our colleagues across the aisle are more than happy to support millions and potentially billions of dollars in government subsidies and carve-outs for the oil and gas and fossil fuel industry. So the fact that subsidies for fossil fuel corporations are somehow smart, but subsidies for the development of solar panels is quote-unquote socialist is just bad faith, and it's incorrect. And I think it's important to support and propose the fact that we need bold action. So I just have one final question. With any global threat on this scale in American history, has it been met with a wartime level scale of government mobilization?
The gentlelady's time has expired, but you may answer the question. You can ask it again. He didn't hear you.
Sure. So in American history, when we have been presented with a threat on this scale, have we met that threat, the threat on the scale of climate change? Have we met that with an economic and mobilization on the scale of a wartime level mobilization?
Yes, we have, and we've done it with remarkable consequence for the planet. And I believe we can, and I hope we will. We have time over the course of the next years to make thoughtful judgments about energy policy, which is the solution to climate change.
Thank you very much, Secretary.
Thank you.